Hello everyone, and welcome to Late Night from my hallway. As I'm sure you all know, our show is dark, our staff is all at home, and we have no idea when we're going to be back, but obviously it's not just a surreal time for us, it's a surreal time for everyone. We're all trying to process it, so we thought we'd start doing that the way we always do, with a closer look. Now, you might notice that I'm doing this closer look from inside my house, and it may be weird to do it from a hallway, but at least I'm not doing it from a public beach. Look at those dummies. And let me be clear, I'm not saying people are dumb for going to a beach during a pandemic, which they are. I'm saying you're dumb for going to the beach, period. You could die from going to a beach right now, and it's still not in the top 5 worst things that could happen to you at a beach. When I die, I fully expect my last words to be, at least I don't have to go to the beach anymore. I mean, I'm not happy being stuck inside all the time, but at least I'm not finding sand in my butt crack. Yet. Anyway, Late Night's in quarantine, but we're still processing the public health crisis, economic crisis of leadership at the federal level. There's a lot to process. So for more on this, it's time for a closer look. The stock market plummeted again this morning, and the number of coronavirus cases across the world has now surpassed 300,000, with about 40,000 here in the U.S., or as the president assured us at the start of this crisis.
When you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero.
So close. Trump's like the dumbest Price is Right contestant in history. Donald, how much for this brand new Porsche dining set and 10-day luxury stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Hawaii?
Close to zero.
Does the horn sound me and I won? Was that the winner's horn? But I really hope people remember that comment as we watch a pandemic overwhelm our healthcare system and wreck our economy while we sit on our couches, scrolling all the way to the bottom of Netflix looking for something new to watch. Honey, look, honey, I found a documentary called, let me see, Secret Wildcats of the Scottish Highlands. I don't think we've seen that one yet, honey. No, we watched it last night, and the secret is it's a boring documentary. Because while the federal government could have been ramping up testing, tracing, and quarantining cases and containing the spread, the president was lying and claiming this was all no big deal. In fact, we now know, thanks to new reporting in the Washington Post, that U.S. intelligence agencies were issuing ominous classified warnings in January and February about the global danger posed by the coronavirus, while President Trump and lawmakers played down the threat and failed to take action. So either he knew about it the whole time and lied, or he wasn't paying attention during his briefings. And honestly, both are probably true. Donald Trump cannot stand when someone else is talking in a meeting. I mean, look at him. He literally looks down at the table and hugs himself like he's hoping it's all a dream. Pretty soon he's just going to start going to meetings wearing a Thunder shirt. Of course, we can't expect Trump to actually read one of his intelligence briefings unless Sean Hannity holds it up to the screen during his show. In fact, the Post reported that Trump's advisors struggled to get him to take the virus seriously. Health Secretary Alex Azar couldn't get through to Trump to speak with him about the virus until January 18th, when he reached Trump by phone. The president interjected to ask about vaping and when flavored vaping products would be back on the market. He was more concerned about vaping than coronavirus. He is a 16-year-old high school burnout trapped in a 70-year-old retiree's body. Our hospitals might run out of masks and ventilators, but at least Trump will still make sure they have plenty of peppermint e-juice. Smoke this, it'll make the pain stop, or it won't. There's no science behind any of this. And now, partially because of Trump's negligence, over 100 million Americans, nearly a third of the country, are under stay-home orders. Basically, it's like a cross between a staycation and a Saw movie. Now, the situation is grim and surreal, but that doesn't mean there haven't been moments of positivity, like those penguins who were let loose in the aquarium and allowed to gawk at the other animals, finally allowing them to be as snooty as the tuxedos nature provided them. Look at the riffraff in their casual wear. This is an aquarium, not an above-ground pool. Or Steve Martin playing his banjo in, I guess, the middle of the woods? And you know things are bad when the sound of someone playing a banjo in the woods is comforting. Usually that's when you run back to the camper and head for the city. I will say, deliverance would have been an entirely different movie if it had been Steve Martin instead of that weird kid. How was your camping trip? You know what? It was hilarious. It was so funny. It was so funny even when someone got shot through the head with an arrow. Now, countries across the world have taken drastic measures to slow the spread of the pandemic by, quote, flattening the curve, which sounds like something a CrossFit instructor would yell during a workout. Come on, Janet! Janet, let's finish those squats and flatten those curves! But it basically just means slowing the spread out over a longer period of time rather than having one big spike that overwhelms the healthcare system all at once. European governments from France to Italy to Spain have all taken extreme measures to lock down their countries and slow the spread of the disease. And in Germany, even Chancellor Angela Merkel was apparently getting ready when she was photographed over the weekend at her local supermarket buying 4 bottles of wine and some toilet paper. Either she's preparing to self-quarantine or she's about to get hammered in TP, the principal's house. Take that, Mr. Himmelschmidt. Oh, I just saw the lights. Go on, run, schnell, schnell. And the drastic measures are already having a major impact on economic activity across the world. The Financial Times reported on Sunday that road traffic has also fallen in most major cities. Rome, Paris, and New York have all seen rush hour traffic running at considerably below their usual average levels. Rush hour traffic has fallen in New York. And in New York, all traffic is rush hour traffic. Every hour is rush hour. If someone gets a flat tire in Queens, the whole eastern seaboard locks up for 3 hours. If you try to catch a cab in Midtown at rush hour, you'd be better off just ordering all the parts and building your own cab. Order them from rockauto.com, which is a commercial a lot of writers on our staff enjoy. And yet, there are still some people who don't seem to be taking the situation seriously, particularly young people who are still crowding beaches and parks. So over the weekend, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo had a message for them.
We do have an issue with younger people who are not complying. You want to have an opinion? Have an opinion. But you can't have your own facts. Well, young people don't get this disease. You are wrong. You can get this virus. And you can transfer the virus. Social distancing works, and you need social distancing everywhere. There's a significant amount of noncompliance, especially in New York City, especially in the parks. I'm going to go down there today. I want to see what the situation is myself.
Yo. If you guys don't stay at least 6 feet apart, Andrew Cuomo will turn this car around right now. He's going to go down to the parks himself and bust some skulls, and he's going to bring his brother Chris with him. Look at these guys. Not only are they going to enforce social distancing, they're going to hang you upside down and steal your lunch money. Seriously, I would watch an entire after-school special with an undercover Andrew Cuomo posing as a teen skateboarder, you know, trying to bust kids for hanging out in the park. Pot is cool. You know what else is cool? Staying inside and reading books. Also, I love that one of the slides in his presentation literally said, "Young people, you are wrong." That is serious Big Dad energy. You were wrong. Now go to your room for 2 months. Think about what you did. Better hear you washing your hands in there. So the coronavirus pandemic has impacted virtually every aspect of society, from Hollywood to sports to politics. Just yesterday we found out that Rand Paul was the first senator diagnosed with coronavirus. Thankfully his office says he's feeling fine, and that's great news. Now we could point out the fact that Paul was the only senator to vote against the bipartisan coronavirus aid package, or the fact that he stood by an incompetent president who botched the response to this crisis and called criticism of his response a hoax. But I want to focus on this part of the story.
Out of an abundance of caution, Senator Paul, despite the fact he did not have symptoms, decided to get tested about 6 or 7 days ago. So what we're learning is that in that time frame, those 6 or 7 days since he got tested, he has been up on Capitol Hill attending GOP lunches. He also, as we reported earlier today, was spotted at the Senate gym.
Senator Rand Paul tests positive for coronavirus, and fellow lawmakers spotted him in the Senate swimming pool earlier today.
So Rand Paul thought he might have coronavirus, and he went to the gym and the pool. What else did he do? Lick every desk in the Senate chamber and shake hands with the Lincoln Memorial? Also, of course he goes to the Senate pool. That explains his hair. Dude, wear a swimming cap. Or maybe that is. Is that a swimming cap? Seriously, if you think you have coronavirus, you're supposed to stay home, not go to the gym. Coronavirus doesn't care if you're jacked. I mean, Idris Elba got it, and look at him. If anyone's capable of knocking out coronavirus by punching it, it's Idris Elba. And now, several other Republican senators have been forced to self-quarantine, including Utah Senator Mitt Romney. Trump, who's feuded with Romney, apparently found out about that fact in real time during his daily coronavirus reality show on Sunday night and deployed his trademark charm and compassion.
On top of Senator Paul, now 4 senators are in isolation, and the rules say that in order to vote, they have to be there.
Who are they?
Romney, Senator Lee,
Senator Gardner, Senator Rick Scott.
Senator Rick Scott also. 2 of them were in contact
I
with
guess Rick is coming out.
With the critical stimulus package vote expected.
Romney's in isolation?
Yes.
Gee, that's too bad. Go ahead.
Detect sarcasm there?
No,
sir?
none whatsoever.
No? Oh, that wasn't sarcasm? So you're genuinely concerned about Romney's well-being? Did you also send him a get well card that said, "Oh, you're sick? I'm so sorry"? That's just a reminder that Donald Trump never passes up an opportunity to remind us that he is an awful person, even in the midst of a global pandemic. It's almost like he's afraid we'll forget, like he's worried that if he's too focused on solving the crisis, people won't remember he's also the same ass who once tweeted, "I have never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke." In fact, last night, after yet another rambling, self-absorbed performance, Trump, who just recently called himself a wartime president, took to Twitter to complain about press coverage of his disastrous coronavirus response. "I watch and listen to the fake news, CNN, MSDNC, ABC, NBC, CBS, some of Fox desperately and foolishly pleading to be politically correct, the New York Times and Washington Post, and all I see is hatred of me at any cost. Don't they understand that they are destroying themselves?" How do you have time to watch 6 networks and read 2 newspapers? I've been home with 2 kids for a week, and the only thing I've read is the back of a box of Clorox wipes, and the only thing I've watched is my wife roll her eyes at me for not knowing how to make oatmeal. Trump thinks he's a wartime president because anytime someone asks him a question, he's like, "Okay, it's wartime." If you want to be a wartime president, you can't tweet petty complaints about the media. Churchill never started any of his speeches by saying, "We shall fight them on the beaches. We shall fight them on the landing ground. Even though the fake news will never give me credit." My voice coach has been unavailable, in case you're wondering why that Churchill was so bad. We're in this crisis, in part, he's not sick or anything, he's doing other stuff. We're in this crisis in part because of the authoritarian cult of personality that surrounds our president. Instead of facing the stark truth, Trump demands constant praise and flattery. In fact, at one point last week, a reporter simply tried to ask Trump about the very real urgent concerns faced by healthcare professionals on the front lines about the lack of medical equipment like masks and ventilators. Things are so bad, TV medical dramas have been donating their medical supplies to hospitals in need during the coronavirus panic. That's right, our government is such a mess, TV shows have had to pitch in. They're giving every hospital in the country mass ventilators and one super hot doctor who gets killed off in season 11. Don't get too close to the cute doctor, they never last. They never do. So Trump was asked about those concerns at one of his press conferences, and this was his response.
I just want to read you some of what some of the doctors on the front lines of this crisis are saying.
You mean the ones that are saying good things or bad things?
I assure you, no one who is saying good things is a medical professional. You think in the middle of a global pandemic that's overwhelming our healthcare system and triggering an economic collapse, a reporter's going to raise their hands and say, "Mr. President, I want to read you some of the beautiful tributes that are pouring in." Seriously, why do you like this? Why do you have the emotional maturity of a middle school student passing a note in class that says, "Do you like me? Check yes or yes." And now, on top of botching the public health crisis, Trump and his Republican allies in Congress are also trying to ram through a stimulus package they negotiated with themselves as the economy craters and millions of vulnerable working Americans miss out on their paychecks and struggle to make it through the crisis. Trump and his allies want to shovel bailout money into the pockets of corporations without any strings attached. They've also proposed a one-time $1,000 check to Americans struggling through the crisis. And during a live stream yesterday, Senator Bernie Sanders, who's called for monthly payments of $2,000, said that wasn't nearly enough.
I know some of my Republican colleagues are talking about, gee, a one-time $1,000 payment. Really? Really? Yeah, that'll last you for 2 or 3 weeks. And what happens after that?
Okay, first of all, really is my segment, Bernie. You don't see me going around blasting millionaires and billionaires. Yeah, actually, yeah, no. I have done that. All right, we're even. Second, he's right. A one-time check for $1,000 is not even close to what we need. What's Trump going to propose next? Free vaping products? To help with the pandemic, we'll be sending every American a monthly supply of cucumber-flavored Juul pods. Smoke before your lungs are filled with coronavirus. Instead of bailing out big corporations with no strings attached, maybe we can bail out the American people. Instead, by just giving them money. Besides, if you send a check to the airlines, there's a good chance it'll just get mixed up with someone else's check and end up in the wrong airport. Why do cruises need a bailout before workers or rural hospitals? No one wants to see Goofy walking around the deck of a Disney cruise holding 2 bags of cash and smoking a Juul. Okay, all right, I kind of want to see it. At this point, it's become clear that to get through this crisis, we're going to have to rely on state and local governments, our courageous healthcare workers, our public health experts, and each other. Because when it comes to Trump, the chances he'll provide real leadership are
close to zero.
This has been a closer look. We will see you soon. Stay safe, wash your hands, and remember, the beach sucks.